The poet Mary Oliver writes, "To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your whole life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go."
But we all know how hard that letting go can be. Throughout the evolution of human religious practices, those who came before us created many ways to let go of and remain connected to their dead.
Dia de los Muertos is a beautiful and meaningful reminder of this human impulse. It's a celebration that blesses both those who are living and those who have passed into the mysteries of death.
Dia de los Muertos began in Mexico, but now is celebrated throughout Latin America and in many parts of the United States. And it turns death on its head. It meets death and loss not with tears and grieving, but with a colorful fiesta full of food and drink and handmade altars. Dia de los Muertos is an assimilation of cultures, combining ancient indigenous traditions with the colonizing Roman Catholic beliefs brought to Mexico by the sword and oppression of Spanish conquistadores.
Los altares de muertos, the altars of the dead, are a beloved part of Dia de los Muertos. The two levels of the altars hearken back to Aztec cosmology and are a representation of the division between the earth and the sky, between the fruits of the land and the elements of air, rain, wind, sunshine. Los altares also reach back to the worship of the Aztec goddess Michicazahuatl, also known as the Lady of Death. She ruled the underworld and watched over the bones of those who have died, which the Aztecs believed were a source of life in the next world. Her grinning skull face is strongly associated with Dia de los Muertos.
Calaveras, candy skulls, represents deceased loved ones who are receiving offerings at the altar. Their names are often written on the foreheads of the skulls. They are usually created out of granulated sugar, meringue powder, and water. The sugar reminds us of the sweetness of life we enjoy before we die. In a burst of playfulness, usually, the children will eat the skulls after the celebration has ended. A strand of papel picado, perforated paper, represents the thin veil that separates the world of the living from the world of the dead. The veil through which our beloved dead pass into the material world of the living. The holes in the papel picado allow the souls to travel through and visit. In many different cultures, it is believed that at this autumn time of this year, the veil is at its thinnest, which is why the dead can so easily walk into our world of the living. Which souls do you wish could pass through the veil to visit you and your home?
Often, there is an arch above or within the altar, symbolizing the entrance into the world of the dead, the same entrance the loved one's spirit will walk through when they come and visit during this festive celebration. Salt is placed on a plate and is said to purify the soul of the dead and ward off evil spirits. Salt or lime is used to draw a white cross on or under the altar, representing the four directions and the four primal elements: earth, air, fire, and water. These primal elements were central in Aztec religious practices, and they are represented on our altar here on our Alluvial Avenue campus by a stone for earth, a feather for air, fire, our candles, and a melting ice cube, water.
A glass of water is sometimes placed on the altar to quench the thirst of the deceased and strengthen them for their return journey. Sweetened soft bread shaped like a bun and often decorated with bone-shaped pieces is pan de muerto, bread of the dead. The bones represent the disappeared one, and there is normally a baked teardrop on the bread to represent the goddess Chimalma's tears for the living. In some oral traditions, it was Chimalma's spirit, and that accompanied the Aztec people from their original homeland of Aztlan, somewhere in the north.
Photos placed on the altar are always of someone who has died. Otherwise, they won't be drawn to the altar and can't cross over. And as Karen told us, the yellow and orange marigolds become a bright and sweet-smelling guide that the spirits can follow back into the mortal world. They are often called the flower of the dead, flor de muerto. Ofrendas, offerings placed on the altar, are items that the spirits will enjoy when they come back to earth to visit their living families and friends. These typically include food and drink they enjoyed while alive, including, when appropriate, a bottle of beer and a shot of tequila. Or in the case of my dad, some Budweiser. The souls that visit their altars do not actually eat or drink what is on the altar. They can't because they have no bodies. Instead, the spirits absorb the aroma and energy of the food, which nourishes them spiritually.
Unitarian Universalist minister Victoria Weinstein writes, "There is no need to end our relationship with our dead, for they are still ours to struggle with, to learn from, and to love. There is no timeline for grieving them, and there is no finitude to loving them."
Shortly before his own death from throat cancer, Unitarian Universalist minister Forrest Church reflected on love and death, saying, "Death is love's measure, because when we ourselves die, the love we have given to others during our own brief span of days is the one thing death can't kill. The one thing that can't be taken away from us, even by death, is the love we give away before we go." Valerie Carr reminds us, joy is the gift of love. Grief is the price of love.
As we celebrate Dia de los Muertos, let us celebrate the complex interconnection between life and death, joy and grief, and love and loss.
Hueles a limpia rosa temprana, a verde cara fresca del río, soy mi paloma, tu caserío. Guadalajara, hueles a pura tierra mojada. lejanos. Inolvidables como las tardes en que la lluvia desde la loma no nos dejaba ir a Zapopan. Más hermoso, Guadalajara, Guadalajara, tienes el alma más mexicana. Ay, 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 ay. Guadalajara.